Welcome once again to Lehto's Law. Here's Steve Lehto.
Got a story out of Oregon sent to me by several people. Thank you very much. And anytime I do a story that mentions Oregon, I get people who tell me I'm mispronouncing the name. I apologize. I'm getting it as close as I can. I've asked people to tell me how they pronounce it, and I can't tell the difference. I guess my ears aren't discerning enough for Oregonians. And I guess I am saying that correctly, but I could be wrong. Court bans random questions by officers during traffic stops. And this is the kind of thing where it's amazing that a Supreme Court has weighed in on this. This is a state Supreme Court. So this is the law in Oregon, not necessarily any place else. Anytime you see a court make a good ruling, though, you always hope that other states might look at it and go, that's interesting. Maybe we should try that too. So you never know. But the Oregon Supreme Court in a recent ruling has banned the police practice of officers using a broken taillight or a failure to signal as a justification for scouting a driver's car for illegal guns or drugs. And again, you might say, Steve, why are you always defending the drug runners? I'm not. We've all pretty much, at least based on my experiences and people I've talked to, we've all experienced where a police officer pulled us over for one thing and then went on a fishing expedition about something else. And, we've all heard the stories. Police officer said that my tail light was out. It wasn't out. Said that my license plate light was out. Went back and looked. It wasn't out. Oh, I guess I was wrong. But by the way, what are you doing out at 3 o'clock in the morning? Is there a law against being out at 3 o'clock in the morning? Of course there's not. And I told a story about my life in Bad Axe, Michigan, where the police had a hobby of pulling over anybody on the road at night until they'd gotten to know you really, really well. So the Oregon Supreme Court in a recent ruling has banned the police practice of officers using a broken taillight or a failure to signal as a justification for scouting a driver's car for illegal guns or drugs. Oregon Public Broadcasting reports the ruling instructs officers to stick to questions reasonably related to the reason the driver was pulled over. So you're driving down the road and a police officer thinks you ran a red light. He can pull you over and he can question you about things that are reasonably related to the fact that you may have run a red light. That's a traffic violation. He has the right to pull you over for that. But to say then, hey, what's in the trunk of your car? Unless something in the trunk of the car caused you to run that red light, that is not reasonably related. This effectively ends law enforcement's ability to turn a routine traffic stop into a fishing expedition for a more serious offense. And that's really what we're getting at here. And we know this. And I'm going to get 2 or 3 police officers who are going to weigh in and go, no, Steve, that's not really true. We pull people over, we play it by ear. And yeah, I understand a lot of that. There's going to be some discretion still, okay? I saw you look down, okay? What does that mean that you look down? And if that caused you to swerve and you crossed a lane divider, okay? And so a police officer can go, that's improper lane usage. And at the moment you swerved, I saw you look down. So maybe there's something down here that's related to swerving in your lane. But on the other hand, does that mean that they get to look in the trunk of the car? Not unless you're looking down, you can see into the trunk of the car. So again, reasonably related to the reason the driver was pulled over. So what this is really going to probably result in is police officers getting more creative, because up until now, then they've been able to say things like, oh, we observed the person looking about nervously, and then their taillight looked like it might be dim, so we pulled them over. And did you ticket them for the taillight? No, we gave them a warning on that, but then we searched the car, and underneath the spare tire, we found a marijuana seed. So what's going to happen is they're going to have to come up with better excuses now. But there are going to be situations probably where they're going to see somebody doing something that's so insignificant, and they're going to wish they could pull them over for something else. But do they? And then can they conjure something up? Because that's the other thing. Human beings have this great capacity to backfill a story. So in other words, I like to do something with no good justification. So I do it, and I get caught. Guess what? I can often come up with a justification after the fact and make it sound like I thought of it earlier. And people do that all the time, including police officers. So law enforcement agencies contacted by Oregon Public Broadcasting are in various stages of reviewing the ruling and creating new instructions for officers. Well, the Clackamas County Sheriff's Office and the Salem Police Department said they were awaiting guidance from attorneys. Police departments in Beaverton and Gresham, as well as the Oregon State Police, are working on a new training bulletin. And the Portland Police Bureau said it is reviewing its training protocols and it is updating officers on this. So, once again, if they pull you over for something and they start questioning you in Oregon, according to the Oregon Supreme Court, they're required to stick to questions reasonably related to the reason the person was pulled over. Now, this will blend in nicely, or dovetail, as they say, with the concepts I've talked about before. And some of these cases came out of the Northwest. But the U.S. Supreme Court has already ruled that the police do not have to tell you why they pulled you over at the side of the road. And I've talked about this before, and I've seen the videos on YouTube where a lot of people get pulled over, and we know who these people are, but we won't get into it there, and sovereign citizens. And they'll often say, why have I been pulled over? And the officer goes, I don't have to tell you. And they go, yes, you do. No, I don't. Yes, you do. No, I don't. And it goes like that for a little while, and then fast forward, and the window gets busted out, and the guy gets hauled out and taken to jail. But the police officers do not have to tell you at the roadside why you've been pulled over, okay? But they must have had a reason, because they may have to explain it later in court. And so it's simply a timing issue. So a police officer pulls you over and walks up to the car. You might not know why you've been pulled over. It's possible. And the police officer might not tell you why you've been pulled over. So you might say, how will I know if the questions he or she is asking me are reasonably related to the reason I was pulled over? And that's part of the problem here. You won't know. You won't know. When the police officer walks up to the car and goes, do you know why I pulled you over? Of course, it's a trick question. I would suggest that you have no idea. Unless you really feel the need to confess and you did something really stupid, like, ran a red light and saw the police officer, two police officers right there who both saw you and they both pulled you over. I mean, at that point, maybe, I'm a firm believer that you never admit anything, but I'm an attorney. But when they say, do you know why I pulled you over? No idea. And so in their mind, they must have a reason. Okay? They don't have to tell it to you yet, but they must have a reason. And if they then start asking you questions, the questions they ask must be reasonably related to the reason they pulled you over. That's another reason not to give them an answer as to why do you think I pulled you over? Because if you say, oh, because there's a body in my trunk. Well, now they've got a right to go look at the body in the trunk to see what it's doing in there. Maybe have a little talk with it. Didn't say dead body. So if you say, I have no idea. And they say, oh, well, we're going to look in your trunk. And they look in your trunk. And later they say, yeah, we pulled you over because you ran a red light. Well, that would be inappropriate because that's got nothing to do with what's going on in the trunk. So the questions they ask you must be reasonably related to the reason they pulled you over. And again, you might not know what that reason is, but this is a step in the right direction. So there you go, my friends. The courts of Oregon, I hope I'm saying that right, have banned random questions by officers during traffic stops, thus ending the fishing expeditions at the roadside. It's a step in the right direction. Maybe other states will follow. There you go. Questions or comments, put them below. Otherwise, talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Thanks for watching Lehto's Law.